everyone. Thank you all for attending our monthly Junior Economic Club of Chicago community event. And this month is focused on college and finance pathways with the Wharton Undergraduate Finance Club. So my name is Lizzie Brand, and I'm the president of the Junior Economic Club of Chicago. I'm pleased to see that we have so many people here, including some of our Chicago community members, since this is open to anyone in the area for our community event, as well as people, JEC members from Chicago and our other chapters. So if everyone could type their name and grade in the chat and why they were interested in attending, that would be great, as well as turning on your cameras just to make it a more interactive event. As a quick overview of the Junior Economic Club, we were founded in 2014, and we are an entirely student-run 501c3 nonprofit that introduces high school students to the worlds of business and economics. So each week we hold member engagement events like this. We also have quarterly economic forums and ongoing community initiatives with from teaching financial literacy to middle schoolers to working with Chicago public schools to build websites. So our Chicago Club has over 140 members from 35 high schools across Chicago, and we also have 8 other citywide chapters across 4 countries. So you can learn more about the club and admissions at junioreconomicclub.org. So if you are a member, we will have a post-event member discussion just about how the event went, what your general thoughts are, and it's a great way to connect with other people in the club. So we would encourage you to attend that after the event ends as well. If you have any questions throughout the event, you can just privately chat them to me and indicate whether you would like them to be asked anonymously or if you would like to ask them live. So without further ado, I will pass it off to Paige, and she'll talk more about what the Wharton Undergraduate Finance Club is. Without further ado, I'll pass it off to Paige, who is a JEC alumni, and she is now at Wharton. So thank you, Paige. And I'll let you take over. So.
Of course. Thank you so much for that introduction, Lizzie. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of what WUFC does as a club. To sum up, as a club, we strive to be a comprehensive destination for Penn students interested in anything and everything finance related through networking, educational, and community events. We foster an inclusive environment and support all of our members in reaching their goals. The club is split into 7 committees, each with a particular focus. This includes marketing, membership, technology, corporate relations, events, case team, and the investment team. So Cindy, Taya, and I are both the co-VP of events. Megan and Andres are our co-presidents, and we'll get into our introductions on the next slide. So Cindy, you can go first.
Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Tay. I'm currently a sophomore at Wharton. I'm originally from New York City. At Wharton, I'm concentrating in finance and marketing. And some of the careers that I've been looking at with internships is asset management and private equity, some things that we'll go into more depth later on.
Yes, and as you know, my name is Paige. I'm a freshman and I'm from Chicago, and I was a part of Junior Economic Club, which is why I reached out to Lizzie to help plan this event. And although I don't know exactly what I'm going to concentrate in yet, I'm interested in finance and marketing. And this summer, I'm going to be interning in private wealth management.
Hi everyone, I'm Doan. I'm currently a sophomore at Wharton. And I'm actually from Vietnam, so I'm there right now. I'm planning on concentrating in finance and business analytics. And last summer, I interviewed at a private equity firm.
Hi guys, my name is Megan. I'm a junior in Wharton. I'm originally from the Bay Area. I'm concentrating in finance and behavioral economics, and I'm also minoring in computer science. And I'll be interning at an investment bank next summer.
Hello guys, I am Andres. I am a junior from Caracas, Venezuela. I am concentrating in finance and management, and next summer I will be interning for equity research.
Hey guys, my name is Justin Chan. I'm a sophomore. I'm from the middle of nowhere called Delaware. My interests are in private equity. I'm working with a private equity firm right now, and then this summer I'll be working at an investment bank.
Yeah, so just, oh, sorry, I can take this. Just to start off, I think we're just going to start off with some like tips for choosing a college, and we'll kind of talk about what's kind of helped us through the process and like things that we think like you should keep in mind when you're applying. So our first slide is talking to people. This was super helpful for me just to like get an idea of like which colleges I even wanted to apply to. So I think alumni at your high school are a super valuable resource, and they're like 99% of the time very open to talking to anyone about their school. And so basically when you reach out to them, just like ask them about their experiences, what they've done in college, what they enjoy doing. Because when you're writing your essays, I think hearing from people and what they actually do on campus can really help with like the be specific. And it also like really helps you like demonstrate your interest in the school, because when you're having a conversations with someone, they'll tell you stuff that you won't really hear on a campus tour or things that you'll like find on their website. So it really helps you kind of show that you like thought about the school and like actually want to go there. And just like as a side note, when you're talking to someone, make sure you're either like taking notes while you're talking to them, or if you don't like to do that, take notes immediately after, because even if you think you're going to remember the conversation in a couple of days, you like definitely won't remember. So make sure you like take down all the highlights when you're talking to these people.
Now, we also have our second advice, which is assessing your priorities. So at the end of the day, choosing a college, it's one of the most important life decisions that you will have. So you will need to determine what's very important for yourself. So that's the most important thing. So is it location? Do you want to be nearby the big city, Chicago? Do you want to be somewhere else? Do you want to explore? That may be an important factor for you. Is it prestige? Do you want to be on a trade-off between a high, like selective college, or do you prefer to be on a more chill environment? It depends on you. I think like for myself, in my opinion, the most important thing was the courses and major. I looked at different classes and looked at the curriculums that they offer. So make sure that you research those. So for you to know what are the things that you like and what are the things that you don't like, and depending on like how they teach it, it might be different depending on schools. So that might be a preference for you. Like, are you doing sports? I did swimming. So I think like swimming was also a priority for me to keep doing it. So if you are also interested in a university that like gives priority to sports, that's also very essential. So it depends on your factors. So in our opinion, we suggest that you weight different universities depending on what's most relevant for you. So you are more aware of your decision and you can make a better decision for your life, and you can like feel happy about it. One way to do it is look at many reviews, look at rankings, look at different advice from people, alums. So definitely ask questions. Everybody does that. So everybody goes through that. So do not be afraid of like asking any questions. I see you guys in the chat that you're all interested in careers in finance. So feel free to ask us anything at the end. We're super open. And just like receive advice from teachers as well. They're super helpful and they also have a lot of experience. So definitely leverage that. And at the end of the day, this is just the same as looking for a job ourselves. Like we are looking at rankings for firms. We're looking at like what things we like, what things we don't. We're looking at office location. So it's the same thing. Like you guys are gonna also pass through this many times. So it's better just to follow advice and like ask a lot of questions so you can do a better decision.
Thank you, Andres. That was amazing. Within that like subsection, like along those same lines, something that I've noticed that a lot of people don't consider is the curriculum. And it's something that's super easy to look up during COVID, especially when you can't actually visit these campuses. One thing that you can do is go online and see what actual required courses there are for the major that you're looking at. So some things that you might ask yourselves are, do you prefer having those liberal arts requirements, or do you want it to be a majority business courses? So as you can see, like on the right is the kind of like the breakdown of what you have to take in Wharton. So there is like a huge chunk of it is business, but there are like still a lot of liberal arts. They're unrestricted, where just like electives, you can take whatever you want. And then there's also like a specific leadership journey. And then you can also think about, do you like the like a specific core curriculum, or do you want like more flexibility in the different liberal arts and sciences that you can choose from? And then another thing to consider is if you want to double concentrate or minor, is it easy to do that? Or do you have to take a lot more other credits, or is it harder to graduate? And does it allow you to pursue interests outside of your major? So does it have that room for unrestricted electives where you can just take some like random class in photography or something where you don't have any pressure and it's just a fun class? So it's something that's super easy to just search up online, and also just make you, it's something that's going to affect you on a day-to-day life or what classes you're taking, and something that a lot of people don't consider. And the next thing we're going to be talking about is application advice. But before we go into that, I'm just going to say that we're not like representing Penn admissions in any way. This is just like our insight. Yeah.
So I think the first thing that is really important in your application, at least to me, is I feel like the application, all parts of it kind of make up like a really comprehensive story about you. So I think personally, like as students, it's important to think about, you know, what you're truly motivated by, what you're passionate about, and try to highlight that rather than try to like do everything to, you know, almost impress the campus recruiter, I think they're called. But yeah, like I feel like there's not a need to try to do every single extracurricular you think that is out there in your school. It's more about focusing on what you're passionate about, because that really like will tell a cohesive story of who you are, instead of like if you're, you know, trying to, it sounds really cliche, but if you're like trying to impress someone, it can seem like like not genuine. And I feel like it's important to, through your extracurriculars, whatever you're most passionate about, maybe highlight that as well in like the essays that you write. And I think it's really important to have a very personal story, not just any story, especially like in the Common App essay. I'm sure that all of the WUFC members here can speak to how personal their Common App essay was. It's, you know, about anything that you experienced in the past, or even like a person or something like really ordinary in your life that you think you can twist it in a way that spotlights who you are. Like for example, I'm not sure if you guys have seen any examples of Common App essays online, but there was a girl who wrote about pizza, or like a girl who wrote about her times at Costco. Like even the most ordinary things can really highlight your personality and show who you are. And then with the supplement essay, that story also comes into play here, because you kind of have to highlight the things that you're interested in the college that you're applying to, but also tie that back in with your personal experiences and why you're interested in the things that they offer at that school. So yeah, I would say instead of trying to, you know, do everything all at once, I think it's better to really reflect on what makes you you, what you're really passionate about, and try to highlight that on your application.
So one thing that I think was really helpful to show that you've really done your research on the school is to be super specific in all of your supplements, whether it be referencing specific course names that you've looked up that the school offers that you want to take, or specific programs or research opportunities or organizations. Maybe it's WUFC that you want to join. And so you shouldn't be able to copy and paste your supplements for different schools just because they should be so specific to that school that the recruiter should be able to envision you by the end, and really show that you're going to be a super active member of their community. And the other thing, that going off of what Doan says, I think something that I struggled with is that like in high school, it doesn't seem like every extracurricular seems like business oriented. Like I know I was involved in like yearbook and the newspaper, and I was like, how is this like showing my passion for business? Like I feel like sometimes I was like all over the place, but I think that you can really kind of like shape your story. Like it's all about how you present yourself. I know it's something that I talked about for like newspaper that I was super passionate about, was like I thought about it like a business, like increasing readership and like utilizing social media to increase readership, and how that's something like you're always trying to like attract quote customers, like which is like readers, and trying to like think about that like strategy. And like for yearbook, I thought about like how you're always trying to like market the book, and like you're trying to like make it really reflective of the entire student body, and a lot of like the same challenges of like budgeting and everything come up in different business challenges. So whatever like thing that you're involved in, don't feel like you have to like choose something else that to fit like that sounds more businessy. You can fit anything to your story, and as long as you're being specific about the school, then it's good.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk a little bit about introductory finance courses. So obviously, like, we go to Wharton, which is a very like business central school, so you definitely have a lot of introductory finance classes to choose from. And although this differs from school to school, I think that on some fundamental level, they all like start to teach you about like similar things that you would use in finance courses. So some of those things are on the slide. They're going to tell you about how companies like will finance, right? Where are they getting their money from? Are they getting investors? Are they getting loans and then having to pay those back? All of those things are ways that you would learn about how to finance a certain company or certain type of deal that you're trying to do. Other things that you might learn about is deciding like what projects is a good investment, right? So if you're buying a company, how do you know that company is going to be profitable? Or if you're like buying a stock, how do you know that stock's going to be profitable? There's definitely going to be like some form of like financial modeling when it comes to that, those kinds of things. And that's definitely something that undergraduate finance courses will talk about. Um, and I guess like on a more Wharton level, again, like we're not like representatives of the admissions office at all. But if you are interested in an undergraduate program similar to Wharton, like you'll have something called like a core where you have like business courses you're required to take, like Finance 100, Accounting 101, things that like would be fundamental in any field. And then you're able to also like specialize. Like, for example, Paige and I said we were finance and marketing. Doan said she was business analytics. It's kind of things that you can go into more in depth at some of these business specific programs. And along the lines of, I guess, what they were saying about admissions earlier, like all of these things like might seem daunting at first. And like I, for example, never took any form of economics like courses in high school. That was not something I was a part of, but you're able to like spin everything, right? I did like school musicals was like one of my biggest things, and like I was able to spin that into a business light because I worked with like the manager in order to make sure that we had enough attendance, right, at our musicals. And like the practices that I had to go to every day until 9 p.m., like they taught me the same type of work ethic and long hours that are like prevalent in a lot of like business related fields. Like the way you like twist your story is the way like it matters for like a lot of these undergraduate programs. So no matter what you do, like you can definitely make sure that you show your interest in like these kinds of fields and in these kinds of courses in the future. All right, so now we're going to go into unpacking potential internship paths within finance. We love to see that a lot of you guys are already interested in those types of internships, like from the pretty big of an umbrella that encompasses a lot of different ones. So the first one that we're going to talk about is sales and trading. And this is on a very simple level, like what you would think about when you think of finance in a way. Like these are the people that like will buy stocks, sell stocks, like work with clients to literally make those transactions happen on Wall Street. It's more of like a 9 to 5 job as opposed to other types of finance jobs, because like you're there when the market, well, more like 6 to 5, but you're there when the market opens and you're done like when it ends. So there's a sales side and a trading side. On the sales side, you're literally doing sales. Like you're talking with clients, making calls, seeing what they want to buy, seeing what they want to sell. Similar to like a sales role normally, only with stocks or other types of assets. And then on the trading side, you're the ones actually executing the deal. This is definitely a little bit more quantitative than the sales side. And you're basically just like executing upon all of those transactions that that bank wants to make. I think Andres is going to talk about research now.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of research, what does a research analyst do? First, your main goal is to give investing recommendations to your clients either pension funds or different kinds of institutional investors. Institutional investor, it's an organization that can invest in the capital markets because it has a large size. So that's why it's institutional. It's not just like yourselves and me, which is just like retail investors. So your goal is to provide investment recommendations based on data. So you need to develop DCF models. So I'm going to explain what a DCF is really soon. And then based on those assumptions, you're able to give a buy, a hold, or a sell recommendations for equities. Of course, this applies to every other kind of instrument, like derivatives or fixed income. Like, of course, these are a little bit like more technical terms, but if you have any questions, no worries. So we can like answer it if you guys want to. So DCF, it's a discounted cash flow model. That's the main valuation method that you will use in order to value equities. Of course, there are many more. You can value a company using multiples, which is like looking at different companies and like comparing different ratios in terms of the financial statements to get to a value. So DCF, it's basically projecting things which are cash flows. You need to think about the company as something that generates cash for investors, that has sort of a growing stage, and then like the company stops growing at an abnormal rate, and then it reaches sort of a steady state. So you need to discount those cash flows to the present, like because of time value of money, and then you get to a value of the firm. So you will use the value of the equity of the firm to be able to define a stock price. So based on your assumptions, you will get to a fair value of the stock price. So if you see that the stock price is different, you like if you see that the stock price should be higher, you buy it. If you think that it should be lower, you sell it. So that's basically like more or less what research does, and it's convincing clients that you have the right, like you have like the right data, the right inputs for them to develop your recommendations. So apart from like developing models, you like just go into morning calls and talk to like different sales and traders just for them to be aware of what's happening, so they can talk to the clients. You can also meet with clients personally, or you can also meet with like the companies that you are like researching for you to learn more. So you have access to information and learn more how companies work and being constantly updated on the markets.
Yeah, those types of models are definitely extremely important. Like, walk me through DCF is definitely like the standard, like, trademark question that people definitely get asked, like, for internships. So I definitely did not know what DCF was when I was in high school. But that was like a great high level overview. If you guys are interested, like, do like look it up, and like there's tons of guides online about like how you can do that. They're also really prevalent in investment banking, if that's something that you guys are interested in. Investment bankers are very different from sales and trading. They're not like executing like deals on stocks. They're acting more as like a middleman. So there are companies that like want funding, and there are investors that you'll have that want to invest in things. And an investment banker's job is to basically like connect those different groups in order to make sure that their clients are like maximizing return on whatever it is they want. So in investment banking, you're doing a lot of the same like types of things. Like, you're going to be developing financial models, you're going to be like working with different clients, but in kind of a different way. Like, investment bankers very much so like build up those client relationships. It's more of like a front facing job in which you're dealing directly with the people doing these investments or running these companies, and you're spending a lot of your time like creating presentations and pitches as well, being like, this is a good investment, like here's like all the reasons why it's good, this is how. So investment banking is more of like a frontline role when it comes to stuff like that. But all of these different roles like encompass capital markets as a whole, and like they're all like different subsections in like a big bank. So if you look at something like Goldman Sachs, like they have all of these, like they have sales and trading and research and investment banking, like all within one umbrella, but they're all in like different groups. Okay. The last thing that I'm going to talk about before I pass it off to someone else is portfolio management. This is what I'm doing this summer. Basically, it's similar to capital markets in that like you're evaluating whether or not something's a good investment or not. But here you're acting more as like a manager as opposed to like a middleman or an actual trader. So in this case, you would be managing the assets of whoever you're working for. Like, that can be a company's assets, an endowment's assets, a high wealth client's assets. And you basically look at their money, you look at their financing, you look at what they already have, and you decide what's the best way for them to make more money and return on that investment. So you're going to be evaluating different investment prospects, whether that's like in stocks or in a mutual fund or in real estate or whatever it may be. and you can see like what would work best for your client and generate the highest revenue and like establish a portfolio for them. And that's basically what you would manage. Basically on a very like high level, taking people's money, trying to make more money by investing in things that you think would generate a profit.
All right, thanks, Sydney. So the three topics I'm going to talk about is private equity, venture capital, hedge funds. Essentially, as Sydney said, it's taking other people's money and then growing money for yourself. But these are more risky rather than passive investment. Starting with private equity. Private equity is essentially, instead of buying a stock, you're usually buying a company here. We're taking a large share of the company. What usually happens is a private equity firm is going to take a lot of debt and look at other investors taking money, and they're going to look at companies that they find that they can buy and then either resell or hold for a long time. So essentially thinking about you buying your local pizza shop, that's what essentially private equity is. And usually with private equity, they're looking for firms that are very stable for like 15 years, 30 years. And it leads to looking at a lot of industries that are very safe, thinking about your construction, thinking about your industry, your car manufacturers, even lawn care is pretty safe. And what they usually do here in private equity is that they try to change the operations of it. And what do I mean by operations? I mean, thinking about it, you have a 75-plus-year owner. This person is not adapt to new technology, but you're this upcoming, 25 or 30-year-old, and you want to change it. So you input new technology, you input new workers, and that's how you improve the value of the company. In contrast to that, venture capital is a subset. One might call it a subset of private equity. It's on the opposite side. Instead of these old, fuddy-duddy industries, is looking at these new startups, these tech startups usually, and how can you, instead of getting flat, consistent revenues, how can you grow it exponentially here? So usually is looking at startups, is looking at firms that are generally newly created, and they need the excess money. So you come on as an investor, you give them money, you give them advice and mentorship, and you see them grow. And eventually you're going to pull out and take all the gains if they're very, very good and grow quickly. The issue here is that a lot of venture capital firms, they invest in firms that 90% of the time they fail. So it's very high risk, high reward. But you get a great opportunity to learn about the industry itself, learn about new technology, and work with young individuals. Lastly, hedge funds is essentially using a lot of mathematical models, a lot of computer science algorithms to trade stocks and bonds and other financial instruments. So instead of using and buying a company, here you're more focusing on the actual market, and it's rather than passive or consistent portfolio management, as Sydney has mentioned. It's very short term, it's very risky, and it's always high risk, high reward, and they pay very well. But it's if you mess up one time, you're pretty much out. And I think I'll turn it over to Megan now, talking about other finance.
Yeah, ignore the trading jobs. I forgot to update my slides this morning, but I think the big other category that I'm going to cover is corporate finance. So basically every single company that you can think of has a finance division because they need money to stay afloat. So I think this is really interesting. If you know you want to work in tech or retail or an energy company, you can work at this company's within their finance division. So you're kind of working with just one company as opposed to these other jobs where you're looking at a variety of companies. And basically what you do in your job is you help with these day-to-day financial goals. You look at the business goals of the company and kind of figure out how to reach them. Are you profitable enough to reach them? And also kind of looking at shareholder value. If any of you guys use Robinhood, I know I do. Sometimes companies will pay out dividends to you, so you kind of make money for holding a stock. So these jobs will kind of oversee that and kind of figure out how much money you need to stay afloat, how much money you're taking in, and kind of just making sure the company is financially healthy in the long run. So yeah, that's just a kind of like a broad overview of like what corporate finance does. If you're interested in like a specific company, like I always like look into their finance divisions because sometimes I'm interested in like tech, but like I don't want to do investment banking sometimes. So you can definitely look at like a specific company you're interested in and also do finance within that. Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening. And now we are going to, I know Lizzie has probably gotten some questions through the chat. And then we also have this slide that just says stay in touch with all of our emails, just in case you have like a question that you want to like email any of us. And then we also have our website if you want to check out our website or our Instagram. So I'm going to stop screen sharing so that we can like for the questions.
Yeah, so we've received, just so you know, you can chat me with your question, just indicate whether you want to ask it or if you want it to be asked anonymously. But we've received our first question, and what distinguishes Wharton from other universities where you could study finance and business?
I can take this one. I think that, well, first and foremost, like Wharton is like one of like the central schools that you would think of when you think of an undergraduate business school, which is great in itself because of like the network that you get and like all of the alumni. But when it comes to like actually like choosing a business school, like you literally, because of like all the experience that they have, like they know what they're doing, if that makes sense. Like they have alumni that have gone through like literally every single recruiting process for every single job company like you can possibly think of. Banks and other types of institutions that like look for finance or other business related like people, they go to Wharton first. Like we get to have like our interviews on campus because people like come to the school to look for Wharton kids. That's just like some of like the job perks. But I think that like on a more personal level, I chose Penn like in general, like not even just Wharton, because of its culture. Like I feel like at a lot of undergraduate business schools, like it can definitely be very competitive. And that's not to say that Wharton isn't competitive, but I think that on a way that's like different from other schools, Wharton is super work hard, play hard. The kids at this school like love to have a good time while also doing super well in school, which I think is such a good balance. Like you really get like the best of both worlds when you come here. And that's definitely why I chose it.
Yeah, the other thing that are like very unique to Wharton too are like specific concentrations that I know that like other schools don't have. So we have like healthcare management, we have social impact and responsibility. They added like managing electronic commerce. So you can like look online about like the list, but I know like some schools only have like finance and accounting, like your basics. So if you really want to like get niche and you have like a niche passion for something, they allow you to pursue that. And just like all of the classes you can take, like even as a freshman, so you go through this thing called the Wharton Leadership Journey. So every year you have like Wharton 101, then 201, then 301, then 401. And as a freshman, you're already consulting for like a real organization. So like we had for my organization, we were paired with this nonprofit and we like recreated like their whole marketing strategy. And this was like already as a freshman, they were like entrusting us with all of this work, which is really amazing. And you learn how to like create a formal business presentation. And the other thing is that they have so many specific, like already as a freshman, I was able to take a class called How to Be the Boss. It's like literally learning about how to be a good boss and a supervisor and like how different people are hired. So there's so many just like cool electives that you can take that are like specific. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great points about like the culture and kind of the opportunities in classes, even as a freshman, are really important points, especially as you're comparing it to other schools where oftentimes you don't even get the opportunity until your junior or senior year. So we have another question, and especially I know we have a couple of international people as well. So um, a student asked, how many, or have any of you pursued job opportunities outside of the US? And what have those looked like?
I can take that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to speak to the same experiences that you guys have since you're American, but I'm from Vietnam, so I've always all the internships I've done so far in Vietnam, and I feel like the thing is I feel like the US is a lot more structured in the sense where they have like proper programs that really, train the interns and really like they have like a 8 or 10 week program that's like very well structured from start to finish, but then other places like Vietnam or like other countries that you might be looking at might not be the same. So for me, when I was looking for jobs in Vietnam, it was a lot about like trying to connect with the people there and like network directly with the people there to see what opportunities there are. So in that sense, it's, I guess, like it's all about, I guess, trying to leverage like who you know, talking around, like asking your parents or like their friends if they know anyone that you could talk to, and trying to see what opportunities there are at those companies and seeing how you can contribute to that company. So I think that would be like the main difference that I noticed from like the US compared to some other countries.
Just to expand on what Doan just said, I think like what like you can do as for your college experience is that universities also provide like internships abroad or programs abroad, so you can do research in other countries. So like as a freshman, I went to France and did research at a business school there. So it's amazing. So you can learn like things from other countries. You can like try to learn the language. So I think like the global perspective that colleges provide to you, it's really essential. And I think like, in my opinion, you guys should take advantage in any college that you go to. Try to take advantage of like learning from people from many, many countries, learn from their perspectives. I've always enjoyed like just having lunch or dinner with like my friends from like different countries. We have like friends from like Faroe Islands, like Pakistan, like Greece, like whatever. So definitely leverage those experiences, because I think those are the ones that you can learn the most out of, like just like having a normal conversation.
Yeah, and like the programs that Andres was talking about, there are like plenty at Wharton. Like there's at Penn there's this thing called GRIP, where it's basically over the summer you apply to like either do research or intern at a country that like Wharton part at a like country or university or any kind of company that Penn partners with. And so my friends have been on these grip programs. And for example, there was a girl who went to Netherlands and she had a blast. Like she not only, traveled there and stayed there by herself and got to work and experience business life, but also got to experience the culture there. So definitely what Andres said, like try it. It's great to explore like all the different global opportunities that you might get at college.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and just like talking to as many people as you can is important, especially as high school students. Kind of just knowing what options exist, and your presentation today was very helpful in kind of defining what those different roles can look like. So we had another question, and it was how you guys decided to pursue finance, and if you had any opportunities in high school that influenced it, or if you have advice regarding how high schoolers here can pursue different internships and those kind of experiences.
I guess I could take that one. I'll start. So traditionally, my background is actually in public policy. So my I do a lot of data analytics, a lot of econometric stuff, a lot of economy stuff, and I actually got interested in a lot of math and chemistry. I participated in Olympiads for them, and it's just like use your time in high school to explore what you want to do, rather than falling into the trap in which some college students are still in their third year or fourth year, not really knowing what they want to do. So essentially, I think you're in this prime high school, network, reach out to individuals, find anything that you're remotely interested in, and do it for some months. See if you actually want to do it. Yeah, I participated in political campaigns, when I was 14, 15, and then I worked on a lot of them. I soon found out that I'm not interested in it anymore. It's just when I love talking to people and the interaction there, but getting the nitty gritty of like public policy, it's not interesting to me anymore. So I use that experience and my financial interest to leverage it to now what I currently do. And I think exploring what your initial interests in high school are and then elaborating on that in college is great. I think there's one notion that you have to be passionate. You're usually passionate about something that you're good at, right? That's not necessarily true here, right? You might be passionate about something, right? But you're not necessarily good at it. But that's fine. That's what you should be doing, right? Because as you learn more of it or you do more of it, you get better at it, right? And if you truly love something and passionate about it, then do it rather than saying, "Oh, I'm good at this, therefore I'm passionate about that." I think that's a large misconception there.
Yeah, I can also talk about this. I actually only decided that I was going to go into finance like about a year ago. So I kind of had like a long, like circuitous path to coming here. In high school, I was really interested in like economics and like game theory. So that's why I ended up like concentrating in behavioral econ. But like what Justin said, you kind of like find what you're interested in and like kind of like go along that path as far as it will take you. And like maybe you realize it's not for you, maybe you realize it is. So like I would definitely recommend trying as many things as possible. And then I think the like Wharton's like business like core like really helped me like figure out I was interested in finance because I had no idea what like finance really was coming in. And if it wasn't really for that core, I probably wouldn't have taken a finance class. So I think the fact that you're kind of like forced to take like a class in, like basically every single concentration is like really important because you might find something that you're interested in that you never would have thought of as a career before.
Yeah, just like lastly, on like some tangibles for you guys, like you guys are all doing the right thing by coming to things like this. Like I definitely did not go to anything even remotely similar to these presentations when I was in high school. So you're already one step there. In terms of like being able to get involved, it's like hard because high school students definitely are not like hired really at like most of these banks when it comes to like actual internships, but there's so many ways that you can learn about business otherwise. Like one thing I highly recommend, something that I did is I literally like cold emailed professors at like universities close to me, asked that had like research I was interested in and was like, hey, like I'm interested in your research. Like I know I'm just like a high school student, but like I've done this and this in research, and like would I be able to like, like just come onto your project and like observe for whatever. And I like literally got like a small thing in which I was able to like observe like people's like economics research at like my local college because I did that. So research is definitely one way you can get involved like super early. I don't know, maybe you guys are involved in it already, but there definitely are like DECA type competitions. I never did those in high school, but there's definitely a lot of like ways you can show your business prowess if you choose through those types of competitions. And yeah, people show their ways interest in business in other ways too, like literally in like the ways like Paige and I talked about, like you can twist anything to be business, even like political stuff or like random clubs that you're in, like even you like taking initiative to start a club, like in a way like that's just you like acting like a business leader. So I don't know, a lot of small things.
And I think too, there's always like courses like your basic econ or AP stats that you can always take. And even like if you look up online, I know nowadays there are a lot of things on Coursera, or you can get like a certificate in like Bloomberg market concepts as well.
Thanks. I think that was really great advice just in terms of like technical things you can pursue, but also just your point about just developing your story and kind of leveraging what your experiences are. Because as high school students, we're not expected to know what we're going to do for the rest of our lives, but it's really about just making the best of whatever opportunities you can find and kind of shaping it to fit your passions. So I think we have another question, and it was about if a college doesn't have a finance concentration or major, what should you do to still pursue it within college? And I know at Wharton, everyone studies, I think everyone gets an economics concentration, and then you kind of choose your other concentrations from there. So if you want to talk about like how that process works, I think that would be good as well.
Jump
I
in
could take
first.
this.
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry.
Megan.
I was going to say, you really don't need a finance concentration to go into the finance industry. Like, I know people who are like in the engineering school who are doing investment banking. So it's not really about like obviously like what you learn in class is super helpful, but like you can also like put in the effort to like learn these things on your own, and like just showing that you like care about the industry, and like if you have a reason for like wanting to go into it, like that's more important than like being a finance concentration. So like also like taking like economics class helps. I think every single college has that. So like there doesn't have to be like a direct finance path at your school for you to go into finance.
I completely agree with Megan. I think like the finance concentration, it's just a title. But if you're indeed interested in learning more about finance, what you can do is just keeping up with the markets. I definitely recommend you guys to read like daily publications. And if you are interested in learning more about news, you can read things like the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and there's something called like daily newsletters. So you can like subscribe to your email, and then they will give you like a translation to more common terms of daily finance events. So I have like some names I can share that later after the question in the chat. So for you guys to subscribe, and if you have like any interest in finance, you can learn something new about that. So it doesn't matter that if your school doesn't have any finance concentrations, as long that you are passionate about it, there's always a way for you to learn something new, either like in the web or either talking to somebody else. You can also reach out to us in case that you have more information. So there's always someone that you can help and like can learn finance with.
Yeah, just adding on. So, for context, everyone from Wharton earns a BS in economics. So everyone like earns the same thing, but then you can do concentrations, and I'd say the majority of people I know do too because it's so easy, which is another plus. But I'd say that definitely, I'd say it goes back to looking at the curriculum. Um, you can you can obviously like learn all these things outside. Like you don't have to take a formal finance course. You can learn like the things that they'll ask you in interviews outside of these classes, and you'll still have to do studying outside for these interviews even if you do take these classes. So at the end of the day, it goes back to like what types of classes, like if you are going to be like an economics major at a liberal arts college, it's going to look like your curriculum is just going to look different because you'll have to fulfill like different liberal arts buckets, especially if there's like a heavy like rigorous core curriculum. You'll have to like take like maybe a year of a language, a year of this, and so it's just going to look different. And just so honestly, just do what you most enjoy. Are you going to enjoy doing that versus like having to take like a management 101 and operations 101 class? So I feel like, but if you like already having gone to like different networking chats, you'll hear from people and they'll be like, oh, I went to Duke and majored in anthropology and now I'm an investment banker. So clearly you can do this studying outside so just follow your passion essentially.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And there are always outside opportunities, and there are also a lot of resources that are offered by the Wharton School and the University of Pennsylvania. So another question we received was, what have you found to be the most useful resources from Penn? And also, what did you least expect to discover at Penn that has kind of shaped your perspective or helped you in your path to internships and whatever else you've pursued?
I guess I can speak a little bit about this, and if anyone wants to join in. I think the biggest thing is network. You have, I think Megan said this before, a plethora of individuals that have done everything essentially in finance or everything in business. So just reach out, and if you're a student, more likely than not, they're going to accept your invitation and have a Zoom chat, have a coffee chat, or just say, hey, do you know anyone else interested in this field? Recently, I had an interview with an SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission lawyer, right? He graduated from Penn Law and did an MBA at Wharton as well. And it's just learning about all these type of things is very interesting. I think connecting with your classmates as well, because they're also going to be building their own businesses eventually or leading the markets of the world eventually. I think there's also one misconception about Wharton. It's that like we're very snaky, but in reality, I think it's a more collaborative environment than people actually think it is, right? We're very hyper competitive in one point because we want to be within our own circles. We work on classwork together. We talk about internships openly. We say, oh, yeah, did you hear about X, Y, and Z? I consistently refer my other friends to venture capital internships that I see that I'm not interested in, or some private equity firms as well. So I think that's one large misconception that a lot of high schoolers have about work.
Yeah, I will just add on. I'd say too, we have like this portal for where basically you can search up any company or like any name. And then it'll like show up all of the alumni. So I could just like look up like Bank of America, and then it'll like show up all of the Wharton alumni or all of the Penn alumni who currently work there or have ever worked there, and like get their email and reach out to them, which has literally been so insanely helpful for also like finding speakers, but then also in the future when I'm trying to network with people for a job. So I'd say that's like one major resource, and like the career services, being able to email. I know like it's so easy to just get like your resume reviewed. I mean, obviously I think like a lot of schools have that, so that's not necessarily unique, but I'd say definitely the alumni network is super unique. And then one thing I was just going to add on that was like that I was thinking about for the last question, I would definitely say that if you think that you want to do business, like this is because I was definitely thinking about this when I was trying to choose between like a more of a liberal arts or like going into specific undergrad business. Like don't I feel like if you know you want to do business, you might as well do it. But also if you feel like because it depends, different schools might have like at Penn, it's like we're split up into 4 schools. We'll split up into Wharton, the college, engineering, and nursing. So if you want to switch, you kind of have to transfer. So you have to like consider, oh, is this like how easy is it to switch majors? So like that can definitely be like help drive your decision. And the other thing is too, just because you go into finance as your undergrad doesn't mean that you have to go into like investment banking or consulting after. Like a lot of people do, like they might go to law school afterwards, or they might do something completely different. So also keep your options open as well.
Thanks. I think that's really important, and we're still exploring. So um, those are good things to look into. I believe Cole had a question, so he can ask that live.
Yeah, hi, my name is Cole. I'm a junior at Jones College Prep in Chicago. I just wanted to ask if you all had any advice about balancing internships with such a rigorous course load like UPenn, Wharton, just in general, and for high school as well, if we're still looking at internships.
I can take this. I think our more rigorous internships definitely occur during the summer. Like everyone's always looking for summer internships because and in that case, there's no conflict with courses. I was still interning last fall actually. And I actually did a pretty poor job of balancing my class with my internship just because there are some weeks where there was just way too much on my plate for me to do. So I think if you're considering doing an internship while you're doing your classes, definitely take a lighter course load, because I think it's very easy to I guess overestimate how much time you have in a week, but stuff adds up super quickly. And even though during college you're maybe only taking 5 or 6 classes at a time, which is less than you would take in high school usually, your work adds up. So I would definitely think long and hard about doing an internship at the same time you're doing classes, because I think it's very hard to balance. So I personally think it's better to do one or the other. If you want to do a fall or a spring internship, it might be better to just take the semester off instead of trying to balance it. But it's doable. It's just it is hard to balance, and you have to be super on top of everything.
I guess I can add a bit here. So I'm doing an internship during the semester, both my semesters too. I think there's 2 points here. One, don't procrastinate. I know majority of you procrastinate your essays. Let's be real here. You wait until the last 24 hours. I used to do that too. It doesn't work in college. because you actually have to do research, and professors know when you're lying or just making up random information. They've studied these things for like 40 years, thinking about it. So I think one, prep for anything, prep in advance. It will work wonders for you during your college application season. And then I think secondly, it works wonder for you in your job, because things come up randomly during your job life, meetings, weddings, whatever. And you always have to prep for that. Also, secondly, time management. I have a card here that literally everything I have to do, and I just mark it off. So create a good schedule, and I mean a good schedule in which you know what you're doing, but don't I always take this advice from my old boss, right? He told me a story about he went to a church, and then a nun told him, "Oh, do you have any free time?" Right? Because you should have free time in your life, so the brain naturally works for imagination and creativity. So prep early, but also leave some time for you to either read a book, make something good to eat, and don't burn your house, or just relax with friends. Prep in advance. And I'm telling you this now, and you might forget it, but I just want to reiterate that point here.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think that's very important advice and something that a lot of high schoolers struggle with, but it definitely catches up with you in college and as you enter your careers and when you have a lot more responsibilities. So we're nearing the end of the time. So if we want to just do a speed round of if you had one piece of advice you wanted to give your younger self, what would it be? And we can I don't know if anyone wants to go first or can just.
I can go first for this. So I think one of the things that I really struggled with, it was like time management. Like, so it's definitely important that you guys were asking, like, oh, how were you able to manage your time so well, like with internships and stuff. In high school, I was honestly a mess. Like, I tried to, like, that's why I was giving the advice to you guys, not to like try to do every single thing to impress the college, because I feel like at some point I did that and it was really unhealthy for me, because I was just like doing everything and not really caring about my mental health, not thinking about like what I truly was passionate about. And I thought it was super important. Like afterwards I learned that it was really important to like really prioritize what you think is important, and look at like certain activities or certain things that you really care about, to devote more of your time towards those things rather than like try to do every single thing.
I can jump in. I think that for me, I think the most important thing, I know that these are uncertain times for most of us, like we might feel like unwell sometimes. So just like try to enjoy as much time with your family and friends, even virtually. You should be all grateful that you are healthy and that you should be like you are here in this call. So I just encourage you guys to enjoy the ride. Do not stress out too much and definitely do something that you really like. Do not feel any pressure on like choosing a major or choosing classes. You can change routes anywhere, like we all have done that at some point. So definitely enjoy the process and it will all work out.
Yeah, I think my advice to like my younger self would definitely be to just like chill out a little more. Like I remember every single time I failed a test in high school, I was convinced that like that one failing test was like gonna like not let me into college. But like the small things like really don't matter in the long run. And like especially like if you're a senior year, like maybe like miss a class to like go to a concert at night. I remember like I was like I have to go to every single class. I can't miss school, but like you really like take your time like for yourself and like just like chill out a little bit. Like one class, like one test, like it will like never make or break you.
Yeah, I guess my advice is a bit different, but I was a very opinionated person in my past. But to actively listen, I think is very important because people have way more experience in a diversity experience. As Andres mentioned, he loves to go eat with international students. And I think it's very important to listen first, make your own internal judgments, get more information, and then make up your mind rather than being ignorant to the facts.
Yeah, I'd say if I had to like give a piece of advice is definitely talk to people who've gone through like similar things as you. So like something that was really helpful is just talking to people who were the year above me at my school and just gaining their advice because they had just gone through everything and just being more open-minded. I think sometimes I can like go on this like roller coaster of thoughts of like, oh, if this happens, then this happens, or like, oh, if I try to hold myself. I'm like, oh, if I'm going to take these classes, then I have to be at this major. Or so just try to like be super open minded.
And then I think the last one from Sydney was that to think about what will make you happy in the long term instead of what others are doing. And I think these are all really important pieces of advice, and it's great hearing it from you guys who have gone through high school and experienced college and other things, and just keeping in mind the idea of being open-minded and kind of learning new experiences. So I will share my screen really quickly. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Paige, for helping us to set this up, and thank you for everyone at the Wharton Undergraduate Finance Club. I'm sure if any of us, or when, I'm sure there are people in the audience who will end up going to Wharton. So we look forward to learning more about the club, hopefully when we get there. And we also really appreciate everyone who attended today's event. I know we have a lot of new people who came as well. So if you're interested in learning more about the Junior Economic Club, you can follow us on Instagram at JC Chicago or on LinkedIn at the Junior Economic Club of Chicago. And you can also check out our website. We do have 2 upcoming events. So one is next week, it's another community event. So it's open to anyone and it's on stock pitching. And then the week after that, we have another event with the chief supply chain officer who was formerly he's at Poly now, but he was formerly a senior vice president at Motorola as well. So we have a lot of great opportunities coming up, and I encourage you to check them out. So that's pretty much it. If you could please just complete this quick post-event survey, we'd really appreciate it. Just a few multiple choice questions. But thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to come and speak to us, and for everyone who came to listen. And I hope you learned a lot from this experience.